Hello, and welcome to Empowered the Podcast. My name is Linda, and I am your host. I am an empowerment coach, a spirit junkie, a realtor, a proud mom, and a dog mom. I'm also an animal advocate, a child advocate, and someone that overcame a lot of challenges and trauma in my life. This podcast is packed with powerful content, inspiring conversations with amazing guests who will help you heal, grow, and evolve into a better version of you so you can attract in your best and most empowered life. I don't know about you, but I'm not here for mediocrity. I'm here for an abundant, blessed life. Life does not have to be so hard. That is an old program. We can do less and attract more, and I know this to be true. I love bringing you this powerful information. I hope you enjoy, learn, and grow. Have a beautiful day. Hello, and welcome back to Empowered the Podcast. I'm your host, Linda Brand. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I have a special guest. He's returning. He was here in December of 22. It was an amazing conversation then, and I'm so excited for today's conversation. Bryan is a human performance specialist. He has 30 years experience. He also has a fruitarian diet. He loves to share his diet and knowledge with us. I love asking him powerful questions around this. He's going to share his breathing techniques. He's a former athlete. He's a motivator. He excels in improving well-being through restorative breathing and rotational movement. He has a profound understanding of recovery and circulatory systems. He is amazing. Despite his past injuries, he has healed himself. He coaches athletes and celebrities, and he is a kind, amazing man, and he's so smart. So I am so excited to share this conversation. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, turn up the volume, and enjoy. You're going to love it. Welcome, Bryan. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad that you came back.
Hi, Linda. Thank you for having me, and hi to all your listeners. Thank you for having me back.
You're so welcome. I think your podcast interview is one of the top listened to podcasts and I love sharing it. Yeah.
You? Nice.
Yeah, because I have a lot of healers that I bring and a lot of health and wellness, and so I love sharing your story, especially like recently I've been meeting a lot of vegan people, and I'm currently 99% vegan and gluten-free. And so I love telling people about your interview, and they love listening, and they love it. They love you. They absolutely love you.
Nice.
So tell us a little bit about what you're currently doing.
Well, I'm currently continuing to be predominantly a fruitarian. So all of my days are fruit. The only time that I break from fruit is when I have a salad for dinner, or sometimes I feel like I want something else, so I'll eat hummus. Those are or guacamole. Oh, yeah. That's how I cheat, quote unquote cheat. And the only reason I say cheat is because if we want it to be pure and we want it to stay in the detox, then you can't have anything else but fruit. Now, you and I were talking a little bit about before the show is that it's not that you can't eat something else, but in order to restore health, you have to be clean first. And this is in every ancient text, right? So we can eat a predominantly, say, alkaline diet, and we can feel better, but are we actually cleaning the system? And that's not really happening unless we're purely fruit. But you don't have to be purely fruit every day of your life. You could do a week of watermelon or a week of Concord grapes, like in September. I did 16 straight days of grapes. I juiced them. That was like one of the best things I ever felt after 16 days of being on grapes. But you kind of get a little bored sometimes of eating the same thing. So
right,
for me,
absolutely.
When I cheat, at night, I'll have bananas because they're a berry. I'll have blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, and I'll put them with coconut yogurt. So they have really great coconut yogurt out there now that's purely coconut. It tastes just like yogurt.
Yeah.
I can get away with eating that, but that's not in the detox, right? So as soon as I eat something that's not purely fruit, then my body has to secrete or make insulin in order to allow the food to cross into the cells, right? You need insulin, but fruit requires barely any insulin. So then if you're on a purely fruit diet, you can heal anything and everything. I mean, I have a good friend, you might have had her on, I don't know, but the raw coconut girl, Magdalena. So Magdalena is one of Dr. Morse's top sort of detox specialists, and they've watched people regrow their thyroid gland. You can be on purely fruit for a year. They have a patient in Dr. Morse's family that was a quadriplegic. So he couldn't feed himself. So they fed him. And after a year, he got up and he walked. He grew his spine back because when you clean all of the acids out of your system, because I have to say this, and people don't want to hear this, but nothing belongs in your body except for fruit. But it's not the easiest thing to do.
Okay. I want to ask, what about the vegetables though? That's from God in the universe. Like why not vegetables?
Well, they have cellulose and your body doesn't make cellulase to break down the vegetables. I know a lot of people that have juiced every morning of their life and I know 2 people that wound up with diverticulitis because they were putting these very hard to digest foods in their body first thing in the morning. And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but show me a vegetable that's easily digestible in its raw state. The answer is nothing, except for leafy greens, right? So anything that grows below the ground really shouldn't be in your body. Again, I'm not saying you'd be doing something wrong if you did.
Yeah, it causes like bloating, gas. I know.
About the pure state. And if you want your best health and you actually want to regenerate your body, then Professor Ehret's equation is the best. It's V stands for vitality equals P minus O. And it's power minus obstructions. So if we get rid of the obstructions, we have more power, which means we have more vitality. And I've been doing this now for a little over 5 years, and that's how I wake up every single day feeling, a lot of vitality and a lot of vigor. And I'm about to be 55.
Okay, that's amazing. Tell us the professor's name again, and how do you spell it?
Dr. Morse, M-O-R-S-E.
M-O-R-S-E. Yeah, I've heard of him, but you mentioned a professor.
Professor Arnold Ehret, E-H-R-E-T. He's the godfather.
E-H-I-R-T. Okay, E-H-I-R-T. He's the what? Godfather of what?
Health.
Okay, perfect. And then the big question that everybody asks you, what about protein? What about protein? I'm asking because for feeling full and for sleeping better and.
Well, number one, why would we want to stay full? We don't want to stay full. The reason people get hungry when they're on the fruit journey is because it's astringent. And when your body's detoxing, you feel exhausted and tired, like you want to keep eating because you weren't absorbing nutrients to begin with. And as soon as you give your body the food that makes you feel better, that's your drug. So you're getting your methadone after you've been trying to kick the heroin. That's how it works. So I don't eat protein. I don't eat any protein. None. And I haven't eaten protein in 11 years.
Well, nuts. You eat nuts and seeds sometimes, you said, and those have protein.
Yeah, once in a while, yeah. But I don't eat them for protein. I eat them if I want to cheat. And that's only because I want to eat something else. But I don't believe I take marine phytoplankton.
Right.
So I've been on marine phytoplankton for 8 years. Marine phytoplankton is the building blocks of life. Every living being on this planet descended from phytoplankton. And if there was no phytoplankton in the world, we would be gone in days.
Okay, go ahead.
It's 80% of the oxygen in our atmosphere, not the plants. It comes from phytoplankton.
Okay. Tell us your beginning. I know that you grew up in a small apartment with a smoking mom and processed foods, right?
Yeah.
Tell us what happened and how you became who you are today. You're amazing. You're helping so many people and you're just amazing your wealth of knowledge around health, because I'm just listening going, okay, I'm done with eating. It's going to be fruit now, just because I already know my body needs more
Well,
detox.
there's also a transitional period, but we can get into that. Well, not to throw my mom under the bridge, it wasn't her fault, but I was born in 1969 in a bankrupt New York City in the Bronx to a single mom in a one-bedroom apartment, and she smoked her whole pregnancy because she started smoking when she was 12 years old. 12. And
Right.
she had me at 25. So I have blue eyes. My grandpa had beautiful blue eyes, her father. And my iridologist has looked into my eyes and he said, you know, your eyes are blue, right? And I was like, what? He said, I was born with brown eyes. He said, did your mom smoke? And I said, how'd you know that? He said, what about her mother? I said, yeah, she smoked all through pregnancy too, from the time she was 12 till she died of emphysema at 71. And so I inherited a dirty lymphatic system.
Mm,
So right from the moment I was conceived, I was in a toxic environment. So that's not going to set you up for empowerment.
no.
It's going to set you up for things to go wrong in your life. And God knows what it is, but it's a cascading event. And then because she smoked till I was 18, I was sick all the time growing up. And I mean, all the time. When I was 16 years old, I went to the pediatrician, and number one, he said, Gail, he's an adult now. You have to find him an adult doctor.
Yeah.
And then I counted how many times I'd been to the doctor because I love Dr. Schiffer, my pediatrician. He's still alive. He's like 92. And I've been there 116 times. Linda, I was 16 years old, and I counted 116 visits.
It's
Why would I
crazy.
say that much? Because I wasn't eating natural foods, and I was breathing terrible air. And
Yeah. Oh, that's
or,
awful. Yeah, yeah. And then after our last interview, I was following you on social, and I learned more about, like, you were partying at a young age, and I did it too. I abused my body with cocaine and alcohol and marijuana and a lot of things, but until I stopped at 17. So tell us a little bit. I learned that about you. So you were like drinking and all kinds of things, abusing your body. Now you're like healthy. So when was that? That was,
yeah. Well, I started abusing my body at 13. I started drinking at 13 with all my friends. But then luckily I became a wrestler. So I would never touch anything during wrestling season. But drinking wasn't considered a drug. I didn't look at it as a drug, you know, and I drank pretty much till I was 29 years old. And then at 29, I had a really bad marriage and I got divorced. And it was so bad that I went down the rabbit hole and I allowed the demons into my life because I had a very famous friend who owns a very famous fashion house. And I was traveling the world training him. And for 3 years, he was trying to get me to party with him. I wouldn't do it. But of course, when your life spirals out of control, you're going to make choices towards an acidic environment. You're going to gravitate to an acidic environment. And an acidic environment is stress and things that cause acidity in your body, because once you're acidic, you crave acidity. You can't not crave acidity.
right,
You have no concept of that.
right. It's just like when you eat something that's not good, you crave more of that. You crave more sugar or more. Yeah. Can you tell everyone who's, maybe there's listeners that don't know what we're talking about with acidic, tell them what that means? And
Sure. Well, you have a pH scale. It's partial hydrogen dissolved in your blood. And it's really that barometer of health in your body. Like when you go to the doctor, your yearly visit, not that I haven't been to a doctor in 20 years. Well, not true. I go to a doctor of acupuncture and a doctor of chiropractic. I don't go to a Western trained doctor. So your pH scale tells you the health of your body. So why don't they test your blood pH when you walk into the office? How are they going to know if you're too alkaline or you're too acid? And wouldn't the treatment be, okay, you're presenting acidity today. Let's see if we can help to slightly alkaline your blood. But of course, they would take not the right route, right? So
Okay.
you can't eat your way to alkalinity. What you do is you breathe your way to alkalinity.
Nice.
And, yeah.
Okay. But there's,
go ahead. Sorry.
well, I was going to say the pH waters that they sell, and like if you stay away from like, let's tell them, meats cause acidic meats, anything like processed food.
Any protein.
Protein causes acidic?
Protein, because it's what? It's an acid, right? It's ribonucleic acids. So if you put acids into your body, does your body gain energy from that? And that's what people think. They go, oh, but I feel so much better because you're stimulated from the acidity. So your body has to now adrenalize itself to produce energy to break down the acidity. So people go, oh, I feel so much better because they're stimulated.
Wow.
And, in all the ancient texts, if you want to, I'm just going to go there. If you want to attain enlightenment, you don't eat things that cause you harm. Right? You wouldn't hurt an animal.
Right.
And you do no harm and leave no trace. And I know there's people out there that religious views dictate the way they eat. That's not how I believe. It's do no harm, leave no trace.
Right. And I learned recently that like farming, like the people that are vegetarian and they eat eggs and dairy, that's one of the cruelest, the way they treat the animals. And I saw something, they did an experiment on, I didn't watch the whole thing, on Netflix, where they took these twins. I don't know if you saw it, where they take they feed them. Yeah. I only saw the beginning, but I just saw these cows lined up with these tubes attached, and I was, it just, I couldn't take it. I was like, oh my gosh, no. Anyway, that's just not their life, shouldn't be. Anyway.
And I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus because I ate meat for 42 years.
Yeah.
Right. But you have to have that kind of experience to transform. So for me, it's like, would I walk up to my cat and would I choke him to death and then cut off his carcass and eat him?
Never.
Why would you do it to a pig and not a cat? Like, how's it okay to do it to one?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know they do that. That's horrible. Okay. So that's terrible. So, the dirty lymphatic, you were talking about that you were born with because your eyes were supposed to be blue and they're brown. Is that? Yeah, that's crazy. Let's see. So breathing, how did you get into that? Let's hear about your expertise on how you found the breathing and then became so passionate, and now you're coaching like celebrities and oh my goodness.
I've been a personal trainer in New York City, in Manhattan, for about 34 years. And I was at a movement seminar, 2017, October 2017. And they brought out a woman who was a cranial physiologist, and they said, okay, she's going to talk about breathing. And I sat there and went, I don't want to learn about breathing. I came here to learn movement. So up until 7 years ago, I didn't have any awareness of how I breathed. I just thought, well, you breathe how you breathe, because no one ever said a word to me. And I'm a phys ed major, and I've been involved with athletics my whole life, and breathing was never even, no one said anything about how you breathe. Not one word, right? So everything she said in her hour of speaking, I was like, oh my God, that's me. But she was talking about dysfunctions, and I was like, I have that. I was like, ooh, that's me. Oh. And then
was it like breathing out of your mouth and stuff? Like I was in the night, I wake up in the night and I'm like, I'm breathing out of my mouth.
Yeah. Well, mouth breathing is a recipe for disaster for human beings. Farmers when their animals start to mouth breathe, they become dinner. Right? Because they know they're at the end of their life, because no animal would breathe through its mouth unless it was hot. Otherwise, it's got its mouth closed. So the mouth should never breathe for you.
You said it's the emergency.
Yeah.
I remember listening to you before. Yeah, you said that you only breathe out of your mouth. It's an emergency.
Yeah, there's no positive function that happens from mouth breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is I learned to breathe through my nose, which was very difficult. It took me about 6 months. It was not easy, but that's the price you pay if you want to attain health. But so I started learning, and I started applying it to myself. Then I started applying it to my clients. And the first year and a quarter for me was hell, because I was breathing so badly that out of the 700 people I've coached in the last few years, I was the worst. I don't think I've ever met anybody who had as dysfunctional breathing mechanics as me, because not only was I a bent over athlete as a wrestler, and then I compressed my spine with heavy powerlifting, but when I got divorced when I was 29, I started doing drugs. So I really destroyed my airway and my ability to swallow. That's a whole science thing.
Yeah, that's another.
Swallow can tell you whether or not you're neurologically safe or fight or flight response. So I started the breathing, and the breathing is what alkalines your blood, not food. There's no pH water that alkalines your body. That's a lie, a bold-faced lie.
Oh my goodness.
Why would I want to put pH alkaline water in my body when my belly is supposed to be acidic? What you're supposed to do is eat things that don't create more acidity, like fruit. It goes in an alkaline state and doesn't disrupt the balance of the pH in the gut. And then as you start to remove the acids, you start to breathe slower, and that's when your pH changes, because you're breathing slower and deeper. So a lot of people in the fruit movement and the healthy movement think that you can eat your way to alkalinity, and that's not true. It's right here.
Breathing. Okay.
The breath creates alkalinity.
Yeah.
Slight alkalinity, just slight.
So I love that you share that you can reverse anything, because I have the degenerate stuff in the neck and the back, and I am way better. But listening to you and your story and how your diet and all the things are reversing your aging, basically, that the acupuncturist told you. And it's so powerful, because you get, even the chiropractor told me, you can't stand for more than 3 hours. You can't stand or sit for long periods because of this. And I said something about my diet, and he said, that's not going to change anything. And I didn't really believe that when he said that. I thought, no, it is going to help, because it's going to help, because I'm not going to have the inflammatory. I mean, if I ate dairy, I literally feel neck pain.
Right.
So I can reverse this through diet and breathing.
Yeah. Eric's equation is V equals power minus O. So the O is the most important part. That means removing obstructions. So you can't put any obstructions back in your body if you're trying to remove them. Right? And when you can remove the obstructions, now the stem cells that you were born with that are still there, now they have free reign over the body. Otherwise, they're in the way. They're like on the 405 in LA. You're an ambulance in the back, and all these acids, these cars are in front of you. You can't get anywhere. And that's what happens. We get overloaded with acids over a lifetime. And that's really the only reason we age, because it creates oxidative stress, which is an acidic environment. So when you remove those acids, your stem cells come out and they do their job. So am I going back in time? No, but you can stop aging in its tracks. And I feel like I've pretty much done that, because as I told you in our first meeting, he told me that my organs were failing. This is 8 years ago, that they were failing, that I was a candidate to have a heart attack in my 60s. And I was like, what? I'm in great shape. And they were like, well, not according to Chinese medicine, you know? And
Mm.
meanwhile, if I had gone to the doctor, I'm sure I would have gotten a clean bill of health. But
Mm-hmm.
so over the last 5 years of being on a predominantly fruit journey, I've now healed all of my organs. And he tells me that you're getting younger. He's like, every time I see you, you get better. And I was just there yesterday. And he puts cups on my back, and my cupping marks are gone in hours. Most
Yeah.
people's
So
last for
why do
days.
you keep going? I'm just asking, like, why do you feel the need to go to the acupuncturist?
Because I don't have a fully free functional spine. And I want, or I shouldn't say I want, it would be nice if I can live like the Buddha. I mean, ultimately, my goal in life would be to attain some sort of nirvana. And if I don't do it in this lifetime, then I guess I'll just have to wait for next one. But I think we're supposed to remember who we truly are, and that's divinity. So,
Yeah. I was going to ask you about the chakras. I had a guest on who had fought cancer 3 different times. She was a single mom. She had a divorce. She had all these things. But at the end, I said, well, how do you think you got the cancer? And she said her chakras. So I wanted to know where that fits into all this, the physical stuff.
yeah, good. I'm glad you mentioned that because, of course, when your chakras are blocked, you crave acidity because you have blocked chakras. But who's going to know that? Right? So yes, it happens on the metaphysical level first, and then it manifests itself into the physical. So cancer is definitely a blocked chakra. It's a blocked root chakra, sacral chakra, heart chakra, all of them. But, once you're at that level, it takes a lot of fighting to get rid of that. It's not easy. Although people have had spontaneous remission of cancer and like that. But you have to believe, or you have to be pushed to the precipice of death till that actually changes. And when that changes, it's because your heart opens. And when your heart opens and your cerebral spinal fluid starts flowing, all your chakras open, and then the heart spills into the root, into the sacrum, it spills into the crown, and then everything opens, right? But it's
Mm,
because you're emanating love. And
mm.
that's the universal force, the universal energy.
Yeah, today's interview that was live today, he had cancer and was given 2 to 4 months to live, and it's 4 years ago, and he had all the treatment. But on top of all the treatment, and he's cancer free, he had love. He had a wife that was there 24/7 for everything. He had children and grandchildren. He prayed 3 times a day. He prayed for others. So the spiritual was definitely part of this journey for him. So it wasn't, I mean, he had brain tumors, he had lung cancer, he had all these things, which for an entire year, they didn't even give him a chest x-ray and they told him it was nasal drip. Anyway, just saying.
Wow.
And he asked for a chest x-ray. He had smoked years ago for many, many years. So he never asked. So a year went by and finally he asked for a chest x-ray. Anyway, he had he had multiple things, tumors, and he is 70, I think he's 71 and he's cancer free. He still goes for scans and stuff, but it was really interesting. I do think there's something going on with the farming, the animals and the cancer. Like, I just feel like there's some thing happening. It's a big money thing. And I don't know. We've been brainwashed so much to believe we need all the protein and all that. Like, it's just really sad stuff. Anyway, but back to this powerful breathing. I love all of this so much. Tell us, your current program we mentioned is you're
It's
doing
called
something.
Neuro Breathe.
Okay. Tell us what that is and what your program consists of.
Breathing actually begins in the brainstem. So not the spongy part of the brain, but as the brain goes downward into the spinal cord, that's your brainstem. So there are 12 cranial nerves that emanate from the brainstem. And that's like your jellyfish. So your brain would be the jellyfish and the cranial nerves would be the tentacles of the jellyfish. So what I teach people to do is activate specific parts of their brain to, number one, calm them down. Because everybody is, people don't know how good they don't feel. And that happens to me every day. I keep hitting new neurological boundaries where I, move into a state of safety. So I'm teaching people how to move into a state of safety.
Like regulate the nervous system.
Yeah. And when you regulate the nervous system, you restore autonomic, which is effortless breathing. And it begins in the brainstem. So you could do all the motor patterns you want. I'm sure it helps people, but if your brain sensory cortex is off, then the motor programs that you're doing are never going to be as effective. So they're very simple exercises. Actually, I've run the class now twice. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. I start my third round, but I'm going to do 2 more after this. And then it'll be July and I'll go on vacation. But so I'm teaching people over 4 weeks. It's one of a kind information. It's nowhere on the internet will you find anything like this. Because my teacher, Lois Laney, she is a savant. She's been doing this her whole life for 60 years, and she's made her own method that she has taught to chiropractors, sleep physicians, dentists, dental hygienists, myofascial therapists, but she's not worldly known. And I plan on bringing her stuff to the masses. Because I have a decent social media following, so a lot of people are enjoying the program and experiencing states of bliss like they've never felt before.
So I've had 2 different breathwork experts or breathwork facilitators on the show, and they've shared their journeys and how they found it and all that. But tell us the difference between that breathwork and what you teach and do.
Okay. Well, I'm a master instructor for the Oxygen Advantage. It's one of the biggest breathing companies in the world. And I'm also a Dr. Beliza level 1 breathe certified coach. But they're all incomplete systems. And I've done the Buteyko method. I've gone all the classes. But they're incomplete systems because none of them deal with the brain. None of them deal with the sensory part of life. So Lois's program is a complete system. So I'm teaching people how to reorganize and resync their cranial nerves. So when they do their breathing work, it becomes more efficient, more efficacious to them. And I still teach breathing. I'm teaching breathing, but I'm teaching it from a top-down approach. So I've always told people that there are 3 dimensions of breathing, but there's really a 4th one. Like we're talking the spiritual, the chakras. Well, they are above everything else. So the dimensions of breathing are, everyone thinks biochemistry, biomechanics, and psychophysiology. But there's the number 1. The 4th one is bioelectrics, because I'm an electromagnetic being, and I get that energy from my chakras. I get that energy from the prana, from the oxygen, and that's how I support life. So I can regenerate my body through the power of carbon dioxide and oxygen by regulating my brainstem. And as you know, I train world-class athletes to do this as well, and normal people. So my Tuesday classes are for, actually I have a very famous person in this next class. I have a UFC legend. He's in the Hall of Fame who's actually going to be in the class tomorrow. So it's not just for regular people, it's for anybody who wants to.
And what is the cost for that?
It's actually very affordable. It's $249, but the pre-sale ends tonight, but you're not going to be airing this anyway. So
yeah, but you're having it again. You're having 2 more sessions, you said.
Yeah. It's $249, and then within 36 hours of the course, I always increase it $150. So the goal is to get in early.
Awesome. So how important is drinking water?
If you're on a fruit-based diet, it's not that important because fruit is got H3O2, which is structured water. So fruit gives you everything you need. But if you were looking at the yin and yang side of foods, you would know that citrus is more of a yang fruit. So it means it steals water. So if you're eating a lot of oranges and grapefruits, you need to drink more water.
Nice.
But if you're eating a lot of melons and berries, then you need to drink less water. So I like to drink tea. I had some tea.
What kind of tea? Tell us what kind of tea.
Mine is dandelion. I drink dandelion. I drink lemongrass and chamomile.
Oh, I have the chamomile in the evening and ginger. I've been drinking ginger. I literally stopped caffeine. So in the morning, I have tea and water. Pardon?
Caffeine is a neurotoxin. It's literally the worst thing people could put in their bodies. But again, they're like, oh, I can't live without hello. If you need it, it is not good for you. You are addicted.
Yeah, it's an addiction. It's a habit. It's autopilot. It tastes good. And I am actually working with an energy healer right now. And she's like, I don't put caffeine in my body. And I'm like, it took for me to do this, for me to like say, you know what? And guess what? I am this being that, you know, has the post-trauma, has the dysregulated nervous system. And it's like, I told my son, because we had this great conversation yesterday, and he's like, Mom, you sound amazing. Like I was giving him great advice, and he's a spiritual, like high level being. And he's like, Mom, you sound amazing. You're giving me like, you think the best advice. And I said, well, I don't have, you know, I haven't had caffeine. And anyway, I said, it's like putting fuel on fire, giving me caffeine, just so you know. It's definitely not serving my body, but I mean, it's one day at a time. Okay. Tomorrow I might have a half decaf Americano or something, but right now it's no caffeine. Or like there's one tea that I have that has very light caffeine. So will you ever drink like a green tea or no?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm out sometimes, but,
okay. Yeah, because there's a little bit of.
Yeah, I stay away from it.
Yeah, no, you're amazing. So it's
stimulated through breathing gently. The only stimulation you need is the air that you breathe.
Oh, well, this is something else. Since I had these breathwork people on, I would, in the middle of the night, if I wake up, I can't sleep. I always say that. I can't sleep. I'm like, all I do is deep breathe, and then I'm back to sleep. It's beautiful. And it's no drugs or anything.
Lock your right nostril and breathe out of your left because it's soothing and cooling. So when that happens, just breathe out of your left and you'll be out.
That wraps up interview part 1 with Bryan Mirabella. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please share with someone you think would benefit from listening to this, and have a beautiful, blessed day. Take care. Thanks for listening to today's episode. It means so much to me that you're here. I know you have many options of things to listen to. If you did enjoy today's show, please share with someone you think would benefit. I would love to grow this audience and help as many people as I can. Also, leaving a review means so much to me. I would love it if you could leave a review. I hope you have a blessed day and live empowered. If you're looking for a coach, lindabrandcoach.com. You can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all the places. Take care, everybody.